Hello, good evening, and welcome to all to Excelsior Academy. So today we are going to do IIT JAM MCQ part 3. Okay, so let's start with our first question. Now, cystic fibrosis transmembrane conductance regulator is known to control the transport of which ion? So who all got the correct answer over here? It's actually very direct. You just have to remember in this.
Chloride ion, ma'am.
Yes, it is the chloride ion. So actually CFTR, like many people, so here everything comes. So in the case of genetics, it is because of the recessive allele. Okay, so mutation happens, it becomes a recessive allele. So whenever it is recessive allele means what? If you have got, suppose let us say it is represented by capital C and small c. So if a person has got small c of that particular regulator, the person is going to have the CFTR. Okay, so that is one part of about the CFTR. Then it is also coming under your ABC transporters. Actually, this I haven't taken, so this I will be taking tomorrow. Okay, so it comes under ABC transporters. And what are the problems with CFTR? That respiratory diseases you get. So it becomes very difficult for person to breathe. Okay, so all respiratory diseases are there. Now just why? Because it is unable to transport your chloride ion, and because of which what happens inside the respiratory lumen, your airways, the mucus is there, right? It becomes very thick. So the mucal lining, whatever is there, so that it, see, whenever we respire, nowadays we are putting mask, but before that, like most of the time people are not putting mask, right? So we respire, we inhale so many things along with the organisms also, right? So we don't want those organisms to affect us. I don't want any infection. So these mucus are actually trapping those unwanted molecules, and only oxygen is going inside of your body. Okay, but in the case of CFTR, it is difficult for them to breathe, plus they have got very thick mucus. Okay, because of which passage of oxygen to the lungs is also difficult. So this was all about CFTR. We will study about this also in detail. So the correct answer is chloride ions. Good. Now second questions. So lipid rafts are involved in signal transduction in cells. Rafts have composition different from rest of the membrane. So this and all we know. Actually, this is, just to scare you guys, all these big sentences are given. It's actually one-line question. So rats were isolated and found to have cholesterol and sphingolipid ratio. It's a ratio in 2:1. So what does it mean? If I write C/S, cholesterol to sphingolipid, it becomes 2:1. So this is how I will represent. It means what? For 2 cholesterol, I have got 1 sphingolipid. Okay. Now, the estimated size of the raft is 3.5 nanometer square. So it means on plasma membrane, this raft is around 3.5 nanometer square. Now, if the surface area of cholesterol is 40 angstrom square and sphingolipid is 60 angstrom square, how many cholesterol and sphingolipid are present in one raft? Okay, so how many of you got the correct answer for this? Anyone? So what exactly you have to do first? So just remember over here, C/S, we know that it is 2/1. Okay, let us assume that I can also write that cholesterol is equal to 2S. Okay, can I write like this? Huh? This is also true, right? I can write like this. So this becomes your first.
Yes, ma'am.
Now they are saying that cholesterol plus sphingolipid is around 3.5 nanometer square. Okay, of which cholesterol I can write as 2S plus S is equal to, now they are given in angstrom and this is in nanometer. So I have to make the units in 1. So how I'm going to write? So I know C is equal to 2S. So this becomes cholesterol plus sphingolipid is a total raft. Okay. So cholesterol can be written as 2S into 40 angstrom plus S into 60 angstrom equals to 3.5 nanometer square. Now, this is in nanometer and these are in angstrom. So I cannot do unless until both sides the units are same. So what I'm going to do? So I'm just going to make this into 1 unit. So for that, I know that 1 nanometer is how many? How much it is? Any idea? It's a matter of 10 units. Yes.
10 per.
Yes, yes. So this becomes into 100. Why 100? Not 100 actually, more than that. So sorry, once again, I'll write it again. So I know C is equal to 2S. Now I will write this as 2S into 40 plus S into 60. Now this becomes my 3500 angstrom. Now why 3500? Because it is square, right? Angstrom square it is. Correct? Getting the point?
Yes,
1
ma'am.
nanometer is 10 angstrom, right? So it is square, so it becomes 100. Now since it was nanometer square, so it will become more, correct? So this will be, now this is equation. Now you can solve it, right? So what is the answer? 80S plus 60S equal to 3500. Angstrom gets cancelled. S becomes 80 plus 60 is 140. So 3500 by 140. So how much we are getting? So the table of 7 you
50.
can do 50 by 2. So I'm getting 25. Correct? Do you agree?
Yes, ma'am.
Ha. So now
Yes, ma'am.
I know that sphingolipids are 25. So how much is going to be cholesterol, which is 2S? It becomes 50. So what is the answer now? Option A. So 50 cholesterol and 25 sphingolipid. If you see all the options, every option was given in 2:1 ratio. Correct? So that's why it becomes important to solve. Now it is clear. Was it that difficult? No, right? It is normal your 1x plus y equation. So I hope in future now such questions are given, you can do, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So let's move on to the next. Now, which one of the following is incorrect about a typical apoptic cell? So this I have taught. Yeah, but not all the options, right? Okay, so this I have to explain again. Okay. So here, phosphatidylserine is present on the outer cell surface, which is true, right? Because during apoptosis, PS comes to outer surface.
Comes outer.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Outer cell.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
So it means it's a correct statement, but they're asking incorrect. Now, cytochrome C is released from mitochondria. So if you have seen the video or in the previous lectures, when I was teaching the apoptosis, there was a mention that whenever there is an increase in calcium level,
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
so your PS goes inside. Along with the calcium, there is also release of cytochrome C. It is given in the figure also. So this is also a correct statement. So don't worry, it's okay because it was not taken for you guys. It's okay. So what happens is, like whenever a cell undergoes apoptosis, this is to detect by the other cells that this particular cell is undergoing apoptosis, the signal of PS. Inside the cell, what happens is your DNA fragments, okay? Mitochondria loses its potential. Mitochondria, that membranes are there, right? Inner and outer membranes, they loses its potential, because of which what happens, all the cytochrome C which is present inside the mitochondria will come out in the cytoplasm, okay? And then there is an increase in calcium which causes your PS to go out of the cell surface, okay? Now this is also correct statement, this is also correct statement. Mitochondrial membrane potential does not change. So this is your wrong statement because it does change. It loses its potential, and because of which the cytochrome C and calcium gets released. Okay. Now annexin V binds to the cell surface. This is actually a fluorescent dye. Okay. You have to remember it's a fluorescent dye which goes and binds to the cell surface to detect apoptic cells. Okay. Apoptotic cells. So whenever we do studies, we use annexin V. So this is also a correct statement. Is it clear? So these points were not taken before, but I hope now it's clear. And that's why I told that we should do more and more numericals, more and more questions. So this was taught to you that phosphatidylserine serine comes on the outer surface. Now when mitochondrial membrane potential loses its potential, then cytochrome C is released. Okay, so this statement becomes wrong. And annexin V is a fluorescent dye. Okay, it's a fluorescent dye which binds to the cell surface, and hence we are able to see the apoptotic cells. Clear? Clear? So let's move on to the next. Now this you should know the answer. Glycolipids and sphingomyelin. So you know what are glycolipids and sphingomyelin. So on the surface, outer surface, you have got many sphingomyelins are there, right? Guys, someone's okay. So on the outer surface, you have got so many sphingomyelins are there. Remember, PC, the phosphatidylcholine, and sphingomyelins are present on the outer surface of the plasma membrane. Correct? Now, glycolipids means on the lipids molecules, you have got certain carbohydrate moieties. So both of them are present on the outer. Now, what they're asking, they are produced by the addition of sugars or phosphoryl. It is actually phosphatidylcholine to ceramide on cytosolic and luminal surfaces. True. So if you have seen the structures, I told you to study the structures also, right? PS, PC, PE, PI. So if you see, it is the ceramide moiety, the common base to which when choline or ethanolamine groups are added, your phospholipids are made. Okay. Okay. So they are the addition of sugars to the ceramide on cytosolic and luminal surfaces of the Golgi. Finally, after such modification, these molecules are located on the outer half of the plasma membrane. What key events are responsible for such localization? So how many of you got the correct answer? Yes? Who got? Pallavi, Harshita, who got the correct answer? So what is membrane fusion? Membrane fusion is when cell is there, a vesicle goes and combines with that, like exocytosis. Okay. Anybody got the correct answer? No? So over here, what you have to remember is, remember I taught you about the flippase, floppase and scramblase. So what is the function of flippase? What is the function of flippase?
From outer to inner side, phospholipids will move.
One second. Flippase is in to out or out to in?
Out to in, ma'am.
Out to in, ma'am.
So see, in this case, what happens is, in this case, so glycolipids and sphingomyelins are there, right? So when they fuse, so when I'll teach you exocytosis, what happens is vesicle is there and you have got a plasma membrane. Okay. Now this is a vesicle. So these vesicles carry your glycolipids and sphingomyelin from Golgi apparatus. So these vesicles are going now and fusing with plasma membrane. So when they fuse with the plasma membrane, what is happening is they are only present in the the inner side of the plasma membrane, but I want them into the outer side. So what happens is these enzymes, flippase, floppase, they actually start reversing it. So because of which the inner will go out, outer will come in. Okay. So here the answer becomes your both membrane fusion as well as the action of flippase. Okay. Is it clear? So when we'll do exocytosis, it will be more clear. So remember, so what we can do is when I declare that your bilateral membranes is over from my side, we can do this MCQ again. Okay, so let's move on to the next. Okay, so this also you should know. Which one of the following does not constitute the lipid moiety in the lipid-linked membrane protein? So I have given you the figure in which all the names of the acids were there except one. Which one is that?
Stearic acid, ma'am.
Yes, very good. It is the stearic acid. Good. Okay, this was confusing, I guess. Now, which of the following statements regarding membrane transport is false? Who got the correct answer? Yes. Till now we are talking about membrane transport only. So who got the correct answer?
Ma'am, it is B, ma'am.
Yes, correct. It is the answer B. Because rest all is true. Polar and charge cannot pass without the specific carriers. Sugars always need a transportation by the facilitated diffusions. Ions need channels, right? So now in this case, protein carrier will only bind and transport. So I have given you sometimes even the GLUT transporters can bind to fructose also, mannose also, right? So over there the specificity is less. Good. Next. Molecules primarily responsible for the formation of lipid rafts are what?
Sphingolipids and cholesterol, ma'am.
Sphingolipids and cholesterol.
Very good. Happy. Next. Regions of the higher abundance of cholesterol molecules on the plasma membrane will be dash. What is the answer?
Ma'am, here cholesterol will increase the fluidity, no ma'am?
What I taught was during the temperature change, but when there is no temperature change, then what will happen?
Okay.
Rigid.
Now, so it will be more
Yes, ma'am.
rigid.
Here I got confused.
I knew it, and that's why this question was put. See, when I taught you about the cholesterol and the unsaturated, saturated phospholipids, I have always mentioned that from normal, if you go to cold condition or to the hot condition, correct? But here, did I mention about the temperature? No. So it means we are considering the normal temperature condition. So when you have more cholesterol, then it becomes more rigid than the surrounding membrane. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, no problem. It's okay. We are just learning. I'm sure nobody got the answer, right?
No.
So
This is not
this,
given, ma'am.
actually in the Telegram it was not given because I couldn't draw the figure over there. Anyways, so you are studying a protein that inserts itself into a model membrane. So liposomes, you know what are liposomes? I don't remember whether I have taught or not. So liposomes are nothing but your double membrane in spherical shape. So it will be like this. In the center, polar cavity will be there, and these will be like just like your plasma membrane, bilayer. Okay. So during a reconstitution process, so they're saying that a protein gets inserted over here in the liposome. So just imagine that in the plasma membrane, a protein is getting inserted. Okay, they have given the figure, correct? The protein has N-terminal. This is your N-terminal. 18 amino acid hydrophilic. So it means what? It is going to be present in the outer space. That is located on the outside of the membrane. 19 amino acids hydrophobic. So these are your 19 amino acids which are hydrophobic, which is flanked by negatively and positively charged amino acids. And C-terminal domain that resides inside the lumen as depicted below. Okay. So what they're saying is just see the figure over here. So there is a liposomes into which one of the protein has been inserted. Okay. So you have got the hydrophilic region and you have got the hydrophobic region. Now for proper reconstitution of the protein, which of the following strategies will be appropriate? So what do you think a protein needs to be in the transmembrane region for the proper reconstitution? Okay, so I cannot have over there the negative or the positively charged amino acids. So where exactly I should remove the what kind of amino acids to improve its reconstitution in the transmembrane region? So what is the answer? Anyone? Are you able to understand the question? What is the question they are asking? There is a protein which has been inserted into the liposome. Okay. Now you know that in this region is hydrophobic. Okay. Now, if I want my protein to be inserted properly, I need this region to be more or less of negative or positive charge amino acids. Okay. Is this much clear? Is this much clear?
Yes.
Okay. Now they are saying is what exactly have to be done. Okay. So let's see the options over here. Increase the number of negative charge. I don't want to increase, because if I increase, the hydrophobic residues will not be inserted properly. Okay, so none of the answer is correct over here. I cannot increase neither the negative nor positive, because if I increase negativity and positivity, or the increase and increase of negative and positive amino acids, the hydrophobic residues will become less stable in the hydrophobic region. Okay, now I have got increase the length of the hydrophobic segment. This is one option. But when you do experiments, when you start doing cloning experiments where you design your protein, increasing the length is difficult task. So always better option is to remove. Okay. So even if you don't know the answer, now can you guess what is the answer? So it is going to be the removal of positively charged amino acids. I'll explain once again. Okay. So you have been provided with a, let us say, the plasma membrane is there. Okay. Then they're saying that one protein has been inserted, which has got N terminal and C terminal. Now they are saying that it has been reconstituted, but I want it to be proper. Since it's not stable, okay, it might, get out of the plasma membrane if it has got less hydrophobic region. Now, to improve its stability in the plasma membrane, what kind of steps I can carry out? So, always remember, if you want your transmembrane protein to be stable in the plasma membrane, I should have more of hydrophobic region. Okay. Now, so it means what? I shouldn't increase the negative charge or positive charge, because negative and positive charge is meant for the polarity. So you can have at the outer surface, you can have more and negative and positive charge amino acids. Now, practically doing in the lab, increasing the length of the hydrophobic segment is difficult. So always the best option is to remove the positively charged amino acids from the C terminal or from the N terminal. So it can be the C terminal region also, or it can be a N terminal region also. So if you remove the positive or negative charge, okay, that will make your hydrophobic region more stable in the plasma membrane. Now is it clear? This is actually a part of the practical once we start studying about the proteins in detail. Clear? Shall we move to the next?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, this I have taken many a times. So, water and electrolytes like Na plus and Cl minus are lost from the body in diarrhea. Only administration of NaCl solution in this condition does not improve the situation. When glucose is administered along with the normal NaCl solution through oral route, the absorption of electrolytes along with water occurs and patient recovers. Now, this is because of why? Yes, who can give me the answer?
C, ma'am.
Yes.
C.
Can you explain why C is the answer?
Because glucose uses the energy from Na plus, and they are both co-transport.
I mean, whatever answer you was given is partially correct. Glucose doesn't take any energy from Na plus. Okay. The thing is that in your epithelial cells, I have mentioned with the figure also, there is a figure where I have mentioned that the glucose is co-transported with Na plus in the intestinal lumen cells, okay, epithelial cells. So in that case, I have taught you that whenever GLUT transporters are there, along with the glucose, your Na plus is also taken. Okay? So both are co-transported. Glucose doesn't take energy from Na plus, it is down the concentration gradient. So the answer is only C, because Na plus is co-transported with the glucose on the apical surface of the mucous cells of the your smooth cells. Okay, so option C is the answer. Good. So even if you don't know what are the other things diarrhea toxin doing or sodium channels are activated or not, all these were not required. just remember, whenever diarrhea or loose motion or water dehydration is happening, you need glucose along with your NaCl solution. Good. So now you know the composition of ORS, why there is sodium, why there is NaCl and why there is glucose. It's because of this reason. Okay, good. Okay, this is very simple. Out of the list given below, which is the correct increasing lipid bilayer permeability? So what is the answer? Great. The time is running out.
B.
B. Are you sure? Are you sure?
A.
Okay. Who said
It's
A and
B,
who
ma'am.
said B? So the answer is A actually. Now why? Okay. Bhavika said B. Harshita said A. Harshita, can you explain why it is A?
Because gases like N2 and all, they could pass easily first.
Correct. And then?
And then molecules like urea and smaller molecules like urea and ethanol.
Correct. And since these are charged, RNA is the largest one. So yes, it will be the last. Calcium has got the charge. These have got the polarity more as compared to ethanol. So the answer is A. Very good. So teaching is helping. Yes. So we'll do this question and then again we'll join. Okay. So this is called something KD plot, or otherwise it is also called hydropathy plot. Okay. Otherwise called KD plot. So this actually I was supposed to take when we start the proteins, but I thought these are simple. So in this case, what you have to understand is, see, from first amino acid to the last amino acid, in this case it is 140. So from first amino acid to 140 amino acids, all the amino acids have been plotted in this graph. Hydropathy plot tells you about hydrophobic as well as hydrophilic region of your protein. Okay. Now we know that transmembrane alpha helices is what? It is your hydrophobic. Agree? Every time when we have talked about the channels or integral proteins, so these were having transmembrane regions which are made up alpha helices. Correct? Now what you have to understand from this graph is that this one. So below 0 is your hydrophilic region, and above this is your hydrophobic. Now can you tell me how many alpha helices are there? So transmembrane means I'm talking about phobic. Now I have explained you the graph. So now can you tell me what is the answer? So how many transmembrane helices are present in the protein? How many can you see above 0?
2.
Yes. So your answer is 2.
2.
See, this one, right? From 20 to 40. And then from here, somewhere around 70. So 1 and 2. So the answer is 2 alpha helices are there. See, now it's easy. So in future, if you get any certain graphs, now you can calculate, right? If you have, suppose over here also one more and here also one more. So I can say that 4 alpha helices are present. Correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So now going to the next question. Guys, join me back. Okay, timer is over. Now the next question. Phosphatidylserine is mostly located in the inner plasma membrane of RBC. This we all know, right? Now you have to prove this fact about PS by an experiment. So you are provided with PS specific lactic enzymes and other reagents needed. Identify the correct sequence of experiment to be carried out to settle this issue. Okay. So what we do in this case is, I have not taught, so I'll just teach you directly what exactly we do. Okay. So whenever we see, first step is going to be your RBC. Correct? You have to take your sample RBC first. So we see that all the option has got the RBC. Now, what should be the next step over here? That we need to make, we know that PS is present over here. Correct? It is present over here in the inner. So I have to make your inner into outer. So inner has to be made outer. Correct? So what will be my second step now? Anyone? So I have RBC.
Inside out of
Very good.
vesicles.
Inside to outside vesicles. Now I have the enzymes provided in the question itself. PS, specific lytic exams, like the enzymes, sorry. So now once it is inside to outside, I can add PSE so that whatever phosphatidylserine is present will come out. And then I can check in the TLC. What is TLC? Thin layer chromatography. Simple? Was it simple or not?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
So this is how you have to think, okay? So all these questions are very simple. It just looks scary, that's all. Yes, next. What are those? I have to read a lot. Yes, ATP-driven pumps hydrolyze ATP to ADP phosphate and use the energy to release pump ions or solute across the membrane. Yes, we know that. There are many classes of these pumps and representatives of each are found in all prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Which of the following statements about these pumps is not correct? This too I taught. So what is the answer?
So D1 is correct, ma'am.
Which one?
D. D1 is correct and
So they are asking which is not correct. Yes, it is true that it is correct. Then what else? All your pumps are transmembrane proteins. Remember F0, F1, V0, V1. Whatever pumps we have discussed till now, it's always having the transmembrane proteins. Yes. Then what else? V pump normally use voltage. Does V stands for voltage?
no, ma'am.
It stands for?
Ligand.
It stands for what?
No,
Capital V stands for
Vacuole.
vacuole. And in the case of V-type pumps also, we have studied that it is present on the vacuoles or the lysosomes, endosomes it is present and it
Endosomes.
uses
Intercalated membrane.
yes, and it uses H plus ATP. It has nothing to do with the voltage gradient. Okay,
Yes,
and it doesn't talk about small molecules. It always transports your H plus ions only. Clear? Now it's clear?
yes, ma'am.
ABC transporters, they pump your small molecules because ABC transporters are related to your drug influx or efflux. Okay, so this is not taken, but just remember ABC transporters are meant for drug intake or pumping out. Okay, so the bacteria becomes resistant. This I have mentioned, right? The bacteria become resistant because of which why they become resistant? Because they have got overexpression of these ABC transporters, and whenever you add any antibiotics, they just take inside and throw it outside. Okay, and that's why they become resistant. So they are having no effect of these antibiotics on them. So the answer is C. Good. Next, KCl was entrapped inside a large unilamellar vesicle. Unilamellar vesicle means, what does it mean? This kind of vesicle will be there. Unilamellar means only single, it will be like this.
Single.
Okay. Now, diffusion potential across the bilayer is generated by diluting the buffer containing dash. Okay, I haven't taught about the ionophores. Anyways, still guess what could be the answer. You have to dilute with the buffer. So what will be the answer? Did you try to study what is ionophores? See, it's very simple over here. Even if you don't know the answer, you can actually come to the answer. So they're asking you have to, a diffusion potential across the bilayer can be generated by diluting a buffer with a buffer containing. So you need to dilute. This is how much? 1 molar, right? I need to dilute it. So with what I'm going to dilute? So it becomes, you know, a diffusion gradient has been formed. So here what you have to understand is, you cannot dilute the thing with the same. Okay. So your option A and C are not the answers. Agree? Then in this case, you have got the NaCl and proton ionophore. Here also NaCl and K specific ionophore. So when I want to make K plus diluted, it means that I need to remove K plus. Now to remove K plus, I have got specific ionophores. K plus specific ionophores are there. Okay. So from here, you should get the idea that if I have to dilute and make a gradient, I can use NaCl as well as ionophore, which is removing your K plus. Now, what is ionophore? Again, these are nothing but your protein channels which help in the removal of your K plus. Okay, we'll come to that topic later. So here the answer is D. Okay. Next, the highest concentration of calcium is present where? This is simple. Yes, anyone? So basically it is present in the ER.
Endoplasm.
Okay, now if suppose this is ruptured, then it goes to the cytosol. But that means the cell has been affected. So it will be destroyed. So the answer is ER. Now, phosphatidylserine, an important component of biological membrane, is located where? What is the answer?
D, ma'am.
Yes, answer is G. Good. I think related to phosphatidylserine, now it's clear to everyone. Sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, this also I talked about this inhibitors. I remember very well. So the intestinal absorption of glucose is impaired by the use of obane, an inhibitor of Na plus K plus ATPase. Indicate the correct explanation. So what is the answer?
D.
Huh? What is the
Is
answer?
it D, ma'am?
No. One sec, something is wrong with the options. All options are same. Yeah? Did you see the options? All options are same, I guess. There's something wrong with the options. Yeah, something is wrong. One sec. So the options are from intestinal lumen to epithelial cells. Okay. Towards the end, it is changed. Epithelial cells to intestinal, and from epithelial to interstitial. Okay. Ha. Sorry, even I got confused. Yes. So what is the answer? So we know that it blocks the transport of Na plus, which is written in all the 4, right? But where this is happening? It is talking about intestinal absorption. So, yes.
C, maybe.
So the answer is C, because from the epithelia you are taking into the interstitial space. Okay. So if you see, this is what I'm saying. When you listen, I always keep 2-3 diagrams so that from all respect it gets clear. So when I talked about the obane, remember the epithelial cells, it has got the apical and basal membrane. So in that way, you need to remember the structure so that the concept becomes easy. Okay. So here the answer is C. Okay. One sec, where it went. Next. ATP binding cassette transporters. Guys, are you able to see the screen?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Once again, I have to share it again. Now, are you able to see?
Yes.
Now.
Yes.
Okay. So ATP binding cases, as I mentioned before, it is your MDR. MDR is your multi-drug resistance. So this comes under ABC. Sorry for that. Now I'll just tell you the answer directly because this haven't been taken. So they have got the 2 membrane domains and 2 ATP binding domains. Okay. So when you study the structure, it becomes easy. So here answer is C. They are P-glycoproteins, eukaryotes, and everything. Okay, but basically they are the membrane binding domain that recognizes the substrate and have the ATP binding domain. So this is the more correct answer. So this is not taken. So let's go to the next. Now this is also something very, very important. So for this, so many techniques you should know. I'll try to explain this. Okay. Now, cystic fibrosis, CFTR protein is known to be a CMP dependent chloride channel. This we know. Okay. Now, with mutual CFTR protein showed reduced Cl- permeability. As a result, it shows sweat. The chloride level will be present in the sweat. Now, to prove this, CFTR proteins, wild and mutant. Okay. So it means what we have made this protein into mutant. Are interested in a model membrane liposome, and Cl transport is followed with radioactive chloride. It is known that topology of CFTR in membrane is very important for its function. Despite no proteolytic degradation or denaturation of CFTR proteins, wild type fail to transport in the liposome. Now, which might be the answer over here? See, it's very simple. Do you guys understand what is mutant over here? If I say a protein is mutant, do you understand what does it mean? Let us say that CFTR proteins are there and this is wild type and this is mutant. So mutant means what? The function of the protein has been changed. Okay, the amino acid sequence has been changed. And this can be done using all molecular techniques. Okay. Now they are saying that they try to put into the liposome. But so they are saying that in the wild type CFTR also fail to transport in the chloride liposome. So what can be the answer? It's all kahani over here, but at the end they're asking what? Even though your normal CFTR is present in the liposome, still it is not able to do its function. Okay, they were talking about the mutants and everything. Now, CFTR protein gets mutated during insertion. This cannot happen. Okay, this has to be at your gene level. Then only the mutation can happen. It loses affinity for chloride ions? No. Since they are talking about the wild type CFTR, how can it loses its affinity? So this is also wrong answer. Now, CFTR protein gets wrongly inserted in liposome. Now, this can happen because liposomes means you have got this. Okay. Outer inner membrane is this is your polar cavity. Now, when you make the insertion, so how do you do in the lab? You have got the test tube in which liposomes are there, and you have got a protein in which CFTR is there. So now I add both, mix it, okay, not with the hand, but yeah, some machines are there. So there is a mixing. Now this mixing should encourage the insertion of your chloride. Now this is not regulated, it is just random, right? Correct. So there are chances where the the CFTR can get inserted ulta. So instead of going like this, it might get inserted like this. Correct. So it might be a one possibility. Now it loses channel forming property in liposome. So it won't, because we are talking about the hydrophobicity only. So liposomes have got the hydrophobic region, even your CFTR has got. So it doesn't lose when you shake it. So what becomes the answer over here? That it gets wrongly inserted in liposomes. Okay, is it clear, or should I explain once again? I'll explain once again. Okay, so what they're saying is that CFTR is a wild type, and then you have got the mutant. Okay, now they're saying that mutants and wild type are there, and it doesn't have certain activities. Mutants means it will lose certain function, right? But at the end, they are asking that the wild type the wild type CFTR was inserted into liposomes. So you have got liposomes something like this. Your outer, inner, and this is polar cavity. So your CFTR is actually a transmembrane protein. So it will be present somewhere here only, this region. Okay. Now what they're asking is why the wild type, when inserted in the liposome, what happened? Still it was not able to pump Cl minus out. Okay. So why this function was lost? So options were that it got mutated during insertion. No. There is simple tube having the liposomes and your protein. You're just mixing it. So in that case, mutation cannot happen. Mutation can only happen at the gene level when you're changing the nucleotide sequence. Okay. Now, it loses affinity for chloride ions. How it can lose? Since we are talking about the wild type CFTR, so it cannot lose its affinity. If the question was for mutant, then we can say that it loses affinity for chloride. Then it loses its channel forming property liposomes. No, it cannot. Unless until the protein is degraded. But that option is not there. So this is also wrong. So what is the answer? So suppose your liposome was like this, having C and N over here, instead of getting inserted like C and N, it might got inserted as C and N. Okay. So C terminal this side, N terminal this side. So because of the wrong insertion, the protein is not able to function. Okay. This is clear now. Is it clear? Guys, is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So any more doubts do you have in these questions? So few topics were not taken, but it will be taken soon. So don't worry about it.
Ma'am, I have a doubt.